The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
This is Orioles Preview on ESPN 630, presented by Sprinkler Fitters Local 669, saving lives and protecting property for over 100 years. The Orioles go for the sweep of the White Sox tonight at Camden Yards. Coverage here on ESPN 630 starts at 6 o'clock. Andy Koska covers the O's for the Baltimore Banner, and he joins us now. And I just joked that they should build a wall around Baltimore and not let the White Sox leave. I mean, this is doesn't this seem to border on ridiculous, the way that they have looked the last two nights?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of what Baltimore needed. The offense was inconsistent, was not firing on all cylinders, and the White Sox come to town, and things tend to unravel later in the game. With big run totals and a defense for the White Sox that seems to kind of hand mistakes, and a pitching staff that walks a lot of guys. I mean, in one inning last night, Baltimore scored. I think they scored 3 runs off 5 walks and an error. So it just was. It was one of those innings that maybe it was even more than 3. It might have been 4. It's one of those innings that just kind of punctuates. Kind of sadly, the state of the White Sox organization at this very juncture, and maybe it improves in the future. I mean, we saw Baltimore went through its own rebuild.
Yep.
Had 100-loss seasons. Having watched, I wasn't on the beat yet during those, but having watched from afar, it seems like this White Sox team is kind of even, is even worse than some of those Orioles teams, which is saying something.
They're threatening the Cleveland Spiders of like the 1800s. They're remarkably bad. And we know that one of the things that the Orioles are looking for down the stretch is starters that they can count on once they get to the postseason. And Cade Povich comes into this game at 1-7, and then pitches very well last night. Does a great job, 7 1/3 innings, no hits, and gave up 5 hits and no runs. And I wonder, how you look at this. Like, is Povich maybe in the mix here as somebody you can count on in the postseason, or do you say, yeah, but he did it against the White Sox?
I think it's a little bit of the latter, although the things he did against the White Sox gives you some confidence of what he could do against a better team. Mm-hmm. Command is his number one thing, and being able to command multiple pitches, his fastball, changeup, and some breaking balls. He did that against the White Sox, and there's the asterisk of it was against a lineup that is historically poor. Mm-hmm. It's basically a quad A lineup, so to speak.
Right.
A little better than AAA, but maybe not exactly major league quality. There's a little bit of the aspect of, it was against Chicago. But at the same time, looking at what he was able to do, commanded the baseball, was not as he didn't have the spray misses as he has earlier in his very short time in the major leagues. He found a way to rack up strikeouts, which, again, it's not going to necessarily happen against a Houston Astros team that doesn't really strike out. It's a different animal. But you have to take it for what it is and say, hey, it's a pretty good start against a poor hitting team, mm-hmm. and maybe it gives him confidence against a better team. And you keep running him out there for 4 more starts in September. I think it'll be about four more starts this month, and see how it develops against better teams. I mean, he's going to be in the mix for pitching against the Yankees and the Twins in the last 2 series of the season. I mean, those will be the biggest starts of his life. We don't know exactly which series it will be at this point, how it lines up, but when he starts against one of those 2 teams, it's going to be the biggest start of his life.
No question.
As an AL East title most likely will be on the line during those series. You take confidence. You're like the fact that he commanded the baseball, but you also have a healthy bit of skepticism. and realized that it was against the White Sox.
We're talking to Andy Koska, covers the Orioles for the Baltimore Banner. On the pitching front, big sigh of relief, I guess, with Zach Eflin coming off the injured list, 15 days he missed, and a great outing. Looks like I would think that they would go, if the playoffs started today, that he would be the number 2 in the rotation behind Corbin Burns. Yes?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even with a difficult month of August for Corbin Burns, 28 runs allowed, pretty much the worst month of his career. He's getting a lot of soft contact. The hard contact rate, 95 miles per hour faster, was the highest of the season in August. But it's kind of funny, the hits that really hurt him, barring a 3-run homer against the Los Angeles Dodgers, but most of the hits that hurt him were kind of bloopers that fell in. And he believes that, if he kind of keeps with his process and makes sure that the cutter location is better than it was at points in August when he left it up, if he can bury the ball down in the zone, get weak contact, he's going to get a lot of ground balls, and he will eat those up for quick outs. So he trusts that he will get back on track. He has probably 3 or 4 more starts to do that. And you imagine he will be the number 1 starter in the postseason. That's kind of why you trade for a Corbin Burns. Yep. is for that start in the postseason. Zach Eflin, though, the trade has been a pretty much instant success. His starts in Baltimore have across the board been excellent, and he's under team control for next season, which is incredibly important because there is uncertainty in the pitching staff with guys coming back from Tommy John surgery, with multiple players, Corbin Burns, for instance, hitting free agency, John Means hitting free agency. So there are openings in the rotation, and Zach Eflin being, under team control for next season was a big addition. But having him this year as a number 2 in the postseason is even more important. And if Grayson Rodriguez comes back healthy, he's nearing a return middle of September, he would be a great number 3 if he can find the form of earlier, maybe even a number 2, depending on matchups. They might decide to switch around. But that would be a great playoff rotation.
And the health, and we've seen him have some good outings recently. Took a ball off the forearm. Lucky he didn't break his arm. But what's the prognosis on Dean Kramer? Is he going to be able to make his next start, or is he going to have to go on the injured list?
I would still be surprised if he made the next start. If he did, it's like his bones are made of titanium. It's like a Got Milk ad. It's pretty amazing. Right. But he threw in the outfield on Tuesday, yesterday, which seems to be a good sign. He did that because the swelling receded. The X-rays were negative. Now it's kind of a muscle hematoma, which differs from player to player and person to person. It's remains to be seen exactly what what that looks like. At this point, they could backdate an IL stint 3 days and put him, up for, be out for the next 12 days. But I would still be, it seems as if the way they're trending is maybe he misses 1 start, but stays on the active roster so he can make his next turn, even if that next turn is a little earlier than it would have been otherwise. Okay. Seems like he doesn't need a full 15 days. Of course, we'll find out more, when we get to the ballpark today. We'll see how his arm kind of reacted to the throwing session. If there was more swelling or something of that nature, maybe pain, that they just decide is not going to be manageable in that short of a timeline. So maybe they push him and say let's have an IL stint for 15 days and we'll get him back in mid-September. But there is an off day on Thursday, which helps. So Baltimore could pitch everybody on regular 4-day rest starting Friday without Dean Kramer in the mix, which, that off day is helpful because they could skip Dean Kramer's turn in the rotation, keep him on the active roster, and then sooner than he otherwise would have if he went on the IL, would be able to pitch in the rotation again. So that seems to be the most logical path forward, but we'll see. We'll see how the arm develops over the next couple of days.
Last question on the pitching. Craig Kimbrell finished up the game last night, not in a save situation. Is he back as the closer, or if you're in a pressure situation, who's your closer right now?
Seranthony Dominguez will be the closer. I would honestly be shocked if Kimbrell takes the ball in a safe situation, unless Dominguez pitched 30 pitches the day before, or if he pitched back-to-back days. It would have to take something like that, I believe, for Kimbrell to jump back into that role. He has had a difficult Kimbrell, the middle part of the season, was on an absolute tear. Went 21 innings with 1 run against him, or something along those lines. Things really hit a rocky stretch in July. Since then, he hasn't really found the form of earlier in his career. And even last night, the walks are what you see from him, and it just, free base runners against him end up on third pretty instantly because he does not hold runners well.
Yeah.
Walked the leadoff guy against Chicago White Sox in a 9-0 game. Allowed a single after that. He got out of it without any runs, but the last time he pitched, Saturday in Colorado, allowed 2 runs in that loss. Has allowed runs in most of his outings. Before that, it hasn't been crisp, and Baltimore could really use him. In October, you need to,
Yep.
Even if he's not the closer. They need high leverage guys for, these big playoff situations. And this month will be, how can we get Craig Kimbrell back to what he looked like in June? And if Baltimore can figure it out, that's a huge bonus. Doesn't necessarily need to be the closer, as I said, but, basically you need to find a way to get him back. The issue we've seen is, fastball velocity is not what it once was. He has that knuckle curve that has not. The spin rate early in the season was phenomenal. It hasn't been as elusive these past couple weeks, and I think part of it is because it's maybe not appearing to be in the strike zone for as long as it has been. It's more clearly a ball out of hand. So if his command is not going to be as crisp, and he's walking guys, and his fastball is down in the 93 mile per hour range, the at-bat becomes a little bit more simple than it was in his heyday when he was throwing 98. Okay. That just is a different animal. So it would be big, if he figured it out and got back to his best. But it hasn't looked crisp lately.
No question. Last thing before I let you go, when they brought up Jackson Holliday at the beginning of the season, that was a disaster. He goes down, comes back up. The thought is that, okay, he's got it on track. And another 0 for last night. He's hitting 181. I mean, what's the patience level with him? Are they ready to roll into the playoffs, or are they maybe looking elsewhere for second base?
I believe they will be rolling with Jackson Holliday.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, second base is his. Perhaps when if Jordan Westburg comes back from his fractured hand, that could be a mid to late September switch. If Westburg gets kind of back to the level he was before injury, I wouldn't be shocked if Westburg turns into if Holliday, is more of a platoon player rather than everyday player. He looks completely overmatched right now by left-handed pitching, and of course he's been over a couple of times against righties as well. But before last night's 0-for-4 performance, he was on a 5-game hitting streak. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to point that out as well. He is not necessarily hitting for bunches right now, but showed some power in Monday's game when he hit a double the opposite way at Camden Yards. So I am not at all. There's no concern level for me with Baltimore moving him into a bench role or something at this point. He's he's the second baseman, and until they get injured guys back, he will be the second baseman. Especially because his defense has been, the first time he arrived in Baltimore, the defense was a little, it was a little shaky.
Yep.
Adjusting to second base as a shortstop moving over there. Now, he's looking even better at second base. The movements are crisp. The plays are crisp. So I think he's still he's carrying his end of the bargain defensively. On the base paths, he's showing a little bit of speed. He can steal a base every now and then. And, he is maybe not hitting the cover off the ball, but he's 20 years old and he will figure it out. But I think they are willing to give him that runway because there's very few other options. And they'd prefer to have Jackson Holliday playing second base than have a Nick Maton or a Levon Soto, kind of journeyman players who spent a lot of their time in AAA. They believe Jackson has a higher upside. So I expect Jackson will get plenty of opportunities.
Very good. Good to talk to you, Andy. Thanks very much for the time.
Of course. Thank you.
That's Andy Koska, Baltimore Banner. Orioles wrap up the series with the White Sox tonight going for the sweep. Coverage here on ESPN 630 starts at 6 o'clock. More coming up. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
And this is, in fact, Orioles preview as the Orioles wrap up the series with the White Sox tonight. Coverage here on ESPN 630 starts at 6 o'clock. Birds coming off another blowout of the White Sox, winning 9-0 last night. Cade Povich, 7 1/3 innings, no runs given up, 5 hits, lowered his ERA to 5.76, now 2-7 on the season, and joining the postgame show on Masson.
We heard about your alter ego Slim recently, Cade. Was that Cade or Slim on the mound tonight?
I think that was a little bit of Slim. Maybe a lot of bit of him. I don't know.
Cade, what was working for you tonight, man? I mean, from where I was sitting, there wasn't much that wasn't working.
Yeah, honestly, I think a little bit of everything. Just getting ahead from the start, trying to execute pitches and throw a lot of strikes, and let the defense work, offense score some runs.
Man, I felt like your breaking ball for me. That's not a pitch that most hitters are looking for off of you. And it felt like you were able to put hitters on defense right away. You just kind of dumped that breaking ball in there for strike one and then kind of went to work after that.
Yeah, I mean, the game plan was really to get ahead with, whatever Reg called. And, he called the sign, and I went with it and just tried to attack the zone early.
Cade, you dominated from the absolute start here. Did the approach change for you after the Orioles were able to put up 3 in the first?
No, I think it's always stick to the same approach we got going into the game, execute the game plan, no matter if it's a 0-0 ball game or a 10-0 ball game.
How long are you going to keep Piano Man around for?
I think it's here to stay for a little bit.
Hey, why not?
It is.
That was a beautiful melody you twirled on the mound, Cade. Congratulations on a career best night.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, the staying power of Billy Joel. That's a 50-year-old song. Good for Cade Povich. As for what the manager, Brandon Hyde, saw out of Povich last night and what he liked.
Command. Really good command of the changeup. A lot of fastballs for strikes. Dumped the nice curveballs in there also, but pretty much the best command we've seen him have since he's been with us this year. Totally in control, and great to see him work ahead of the hitters the way he did. We got a lead for him, and he filled up the strike zone. So awesome to see him go in the 8th inning there.
You feel like you guys did a really good job of capitalizing on the mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of traffic, and I thought we did a nice job not expanding the strike zone. We walked a ton. So 9 walks. So did a nice job not trying to do too much and took advantage of some walks.
How big can a game like that be for Cade's confidence so early in his career?
Yeah, I hope so. It's all about command with Cade because he's got life to his fastball and he's got secondary, and when he can work ahead in the count and be unpredictable, move the ball in and out the way he did, keep guys off balance. He's capable of pitching deep into the game, and he showed that tonight.
And last word from the clubhouse comes from Ryan O'Hearn, who had hit and scored 2 runs. And This is the diplomatic way to talk about beating a team that really isn't a major league team, as they scored 22 runs against the White Sox in the last 2 nights. Here's O'Hearn.
We got to understand that, aside from what's going on over there, it's a major league team, and anybody can jump up and bite you, and we just got to go about our business the way that we do every day, no matter who we're playing. I think our guys did a really good job of that tonight. It's pretty clean defensively, and great at bats all night, and Povich really threw the ball well, and then Birch and Craig came in and shut it down. So I think that's what you got to do, no matter who you're playing.
You guys have kind of taken advantage of a little bit of a lull in your schedule these past couple of series, and that'll continue the next few weeks. I mean, what kind of stretch do you like that for you guys as you enter in late September into October?
Yeah, I mean, we don't look at it that way. We treat every game the same, no matter who we're playing. Every win obviously matters at this point, and we're chasing down the East, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. You got to find a way to win.
Well, they are now the team that's being chased, as they have a half-game lead on the Yankees, and after tonight, they're off tomorrow. Then 500 teams for the next while. They play 3 against Tampa at home. They're 68-70. At Boston for 3, they're 70-69, and then 3 at Detroit. They're 70-69. So the Orioles with a chance to put even more distance between themselves and the Yankees as we come down the home stretch. Again, the game tonight right here on ESPN 630. Our coverage will get underway at 6 o'clock. Orioles preview on ESPN 630 is presented by Sprinkler Fitters Local 669, saving lives and protecting property for over 100 years. I want to thank Andy Koska, the Baltimore Banner, for coming on today, Lindsey Allen, the executive director of the Solheim Cup, and Isaac Harris for running the show. Thanks to all of you who listen. Bram is coming up next, and I'll see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m.